I'm joined here now with Mr. John Warren. He's the director.
Sorry.
That's okay. He's the director of the Central New York Services, and also he's the person in charge of the Homestead living facility back here. Last night, shortly before 11 p.m., our officers were dispatched to 222 Wyoming Street, the Homestead housing facility. Officers arrived, communicated with the staff. They were dispatched for a dispute. And once we got here, we communicated with the staff. The staff advised us that they had a dispute with one of the tenants here who resided in apartment number 206. The person that we're speaking of is Evan Edwardson, a 28-year-old male. Officers proceeded to apartment number 206 within the building. Mr. Evanson would only open the door up slightly so that the officers could not enter entirely. They tried to communicate with them, and he attempted to close the door on them. And the officers put their foot in the door, wedged the door so that he could not close the door entirely. And at that point, Mr. Evanson walked a short distance away from the officers, turned around, and he held a hand grenade in his hand. The officers, upon seeing the hand grenade, they backed away and followed proper protocol, which is to secure a perimeter, alert the emergency response team, and that's exactly what they did in this situation. They alerted the emergency response team. The emergency response team, along with the hostage negotiation team. Now, the emergency response team is our tactical unit. The hostage negotiation team is the unit that we use to communicate with people in situations like this. Alerted both teams. They arrived at the scene, and we began hours of communication with Mr. Edwards. And throughout the night, we continued to speak with him. Our communications with him really were ineffective. He wasn't making any clear sense in his communication with us, and it was quite clear to us that we were dealing with a severely emotionally disturbed person. And a short while ago, after our communications failed. Now, when I talk about communications, I want you to understand that our guys were talking to him, encouraging him to come out, separate himself from the grenade in any way possible. We utilized all the tactical and conventional means that we had to communicate with him, and we even moved forward with some non-conventional means by utilizing people who were close to him, either by relations or professional people to communicate with him. Those efforts failed as well. And we knew that the longer he stayed in there, the more dangerous this situation can get. Now we're talking about a hand grenade. So at this point, we moved, the hours passed and negotiations failed. So we decided to move toward less lethal deployment, which was our gas. We used gas to try to make him a little uncomfortable so that he wanted to come out the apartment and separate himself from the grenade. After a few volleys of gas and still communicating every step of the way, he dropped the grenade, which turned out to be an inert grenade, by the way. Thank God for that. He dropped the grenade out the window. We were able to secure him. He was decontaminated from the gas by fire control here at the scene. He was then transported to Upstate University Hospital, where he's going to be evaluated for any type of injuries that he may have suffered at all, whether self-inflicted or any injuries that he may have suffered. And once he's evaluated, then we're going to consider the proper charges, whether he's going to be dealt with from a mental standpoint or from a criminal standpoint. And so what are your questions?
Was that in fact a real grenade after you were able to get in and see what he was holding there?
It was not a real grenade.
Was he making any demands, Chief? Was there anything he was telling you in terms of what he was looking for?
Well, he wasn't making any demands. The only thing that he was ranting about was the government and just various things. His conversation was across the board, but there was nothing really consistent. And the only it was just rants.
Police were on the scene for about 10 hours. What was taking so long?
You said what was taking
Police,
so long?
yeah, what was taking so long?
Well, we knew that we had an emotionally disturbed person. we felt at the time we had emotionally stirred a person with a very serious weapon that can harm not only himself but other people. So we're going to take all the time that we have, that we can, in order to get this thing resolved safely. So that's what we did in this case. We took all the time that we could to resolve this thing safely. And as I said, all the while we were communicating with them. And when we felt, when we were confident that those efforts had failed, that's when we moved to other measures.
From the people that you that know him, did you get any insight about him or his behavior? Has he done this before?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he did. And in 2009, our hostage negotiation team was dispatched to the town of Manlius for a mutual aid to assist them in a similar situation where he had barricaded himself and he had made threats. So not only are other police agencies and his family familiar with them, we were familiar with him as well.
Tear gas, Chief? Is that what it was? You mentioned gas.
Yeah,
tear gas?
Tear gas.
And
Yeah,
how many volleys did you have to send in there?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to even, I know how many volleys, but that's a tactical thing, and I'm not going to get into talking about tactical things because people can then gauge from that the effectiveness of our devices. So,
Chief, can you talk? You had a hostage team. Do you have a negotiator that specializes in trying to talk down in this situation?
Absolutely. We have specially trained personnel trained specifically in talking to people in situations like this.
How did he get the grenade?
I don't know, and obviously, you know, with something like this, the tactical part has ended, but the investigative part is going to continue. We're going to find out how he got this and really to look at this matter a little bit closer.
It's unusual, even though it wasn't a real grenade, but to dealing with a grenade in this kind of situation, I can't remember that. But that is something that you train for as well. You usually have a gun of some kind.
Well, you know, we're very fortunate here at in the city of Syracuse. We have our emergency response team and our hostage negotiation team are well-trained units, and we're fortunate enough that we have a mayor that believes in the police department, believes in training the police department and equipping the police department in a way and in a fashion that it's going to take to keep the people safe. So we have specially trained people to address stuff like this, and we're very fortunate to be able to have that.
I'm not a gunshot expert, but I heard different kinds of sounds.
Sure.
Shots. Were they all tear gas, or were there pistol shots or rifle shots?
There were no pistol shots and there were no rifle shots. The sounds that you heard was the deployment of the gas and the deployment of what we refer to as less lethal weapons. Okay.
What's less lethal weapons?
Less lethal weapons are weapons that are similar to like a beanbag gun or something like that. It's a weapon that is not designed to penetrate the human body. Is designed to provide blunt force trauma over a small area for a small period of time, and with hopes and it's not designed to cause serious physical injury, just to incapacitate people.
So can we say that you used a beanbag gun?
No, you can say that I used less lethal weapon.
Was anybody hurt at all?
No. As a matter of fact, no one was injured at all.
Chief, do you know if the suspect had any contact with anyone during the standoff while he was inside?
No, he didn't, because we have means of cutting those communications off.
Considering, Chief, that he's the second time for him, allegedly, second
Sure.
time he's been involved. Just in terms of charges.
At least the second time.
At least the second time. And you mentioned different charges, maybe mental health charges, criminal charges, but just in terms of getting, making sure this guy doesn't do it a third time.
Well, that's not left up to me. Our job here is finished. Now he's going to go before the courts. Now he's going to be evaluated by professionals. And the only thing I do is solve crime and lock people up. So that matters out of my hand.
Chief, I'm sorry. Was this the same individual? I didn't hear in Manlius in 09?
Yes, that's correct.
And it was saying he didn't have a grenade, but he some type of similar
crossbow. He had a crossbow.
Okay.
Chief, are you aware of what his motive for doing this might have been?
His motive?
Yeah,
No. We're talking about an emotionally disturbed person. So really, he's not going to have a clear-cut motive.
Okay, so he didn't explain why he was.
No. The only thing that he did was throughout the night he engaged in rants that really it didn't really signify why he was doing this.
So maybe he's off his medication.
I don't know. I don't know if he's off his medication. The only thing I can talk to you about is his behavior. I'm not qualified to talk about his overall mental state.